So first I will create one folder called demo, and inside demo I'll put TypeScript files. So whatever, so we'll be seeing a TypeScript, a Node, and TypeScript, all three combined together. I will highlight wherever possible which is TypeScript, which is JavaScript, and which is Node.js.
So
And whatever source files,
yeah,
yes,
before
Mridul.
the agenda of this call is that we are having some brief overview of Node.js, TypeScript, and
Yeah,
mm,
yeah, I will tell you about what is Node, what is JavaScript, and what is TypeScript. Okay, so what are source files I'm going to create? Other files you don't have to focus. So whatever source files I'm going to create, I will be putting in demo folder. So other files are related to our project.
mm,
Okay, so first, so JavaScript, I think you know, so which is used for front end. I think it came at uh, 1991 or 2001. I don't remember. So JavaScript started. So it's very old and it's very popular for front end technologies. Uh, so browser understands only JavaScript. So the and also like if you see JavaScript, so JavaScript it doesn't have any types. So you will just declare variable using var, and then you put values. The values can be either string, number, boolean, anything. And even in function types, there is no strict prototype that it should return this specific type. You can return any values. There is no any strict prototypes there. So and also like if you see JavaScript before 2015, you had only var keyword. So let me create one index.js file. So you would have seen something like this, where a equal to hello world.
yeah, mm,
Okay,
mm,
and sometimes, right, you even if you put a code like this, it's completely valid in JavaScript. But what developers they say is where should be used for declaring, and also this is also valid. So you put one variable here, but you declared at the bottom only. Okay, using where. This is also completely valid in JavaScript, and after where again you can call use where keyword after this, after you declare a variable. This is also completely valid in JavaScript.
so
Okay, but
same variable name, right? That is not against the class.
yeah, it will not complain you anything. So this is completely valid in JavaScript. So yeah, you are correct. So we have problem with where keyword. Okay. So
Mm,
sometimes if 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 you would have seen in other languages, you would have something final keyword when you talk about Java.
mm,
So final keywords always give you the constant variable, but here it's not the case. So the same value can be changed if you are using where. But after 2015, so there was a new version, which is ES 2015, or it is also known as ES6.
okay.
Okay, so in this version, they came up with very new concepts in JavaScript, and after this, it was rapidly more changes, more improvements to JavaScript. Now I think we are currently in ES 2021, I guess. Okay, and also we have a major six to seven major revisions in between, and multiple minor versions. So here, if you see, in year six, they came up with two new keywords, which is let and const. Okay, so if you see the let keyword, if I just declare let b equal to 5, and you can again assign this one to any value.
Okay. Mm.
Okay, so what is the difference between where and let? Okay, so in let, we already have one variable, and again if you try to declare this one, let b equal to 7, so this will fail at runtime, so because b is already initialized.
Mm.
Okay, so this will complain. But if you are using so there is another keyword which is const, let's say uh, pi equal to 3.14. Okay, now if I try to change pi, so this will again fail.
Okay. Okay.
So fail will fail at runtime. Okay, and JavaScript, you already saw, right? We already have multiple compilation errors. So this one is also will fail at runtime.
Mm.
Uh, but if you, I mean, in JavaScript we don't have any compile time issues. Okay, but when you run, there may in line number 10 and 13 will complain. Okay, so there are, I mean, there are another drawbacks also. For example, if you are using IDE, for example, let's say I am writing one function. So let's say greet, or okay, let's say concat or add. Okay, so add a comma b, okay, and here I am going to return a plus b.
Mm. Side one doubt here. This
Yes,
semicolon you don't need to give at the very end. Like,
which one?
semicolon we give, right?
Semicolon is completely optional in JavaScript.
So you go to next line if you understand it is a
Yes,
new.
yes, it will understand. But if you are writing two, three statements in the same line, for example, let's say a equal to 1, b equal to 3, and if you are writing something like this, a plus b,
Mm.
and then b equal to a into b.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So if you are writing something like this, multiple statements in one line, then semicolon is mandatory.
Okay.
Okay, but as per guidelines, right, coding standards, uh, I mean, so you should write in separate lines because these are two statements are completely different, and so when you write in separate lines, it gives more readability.
Okay. Mm. And like it's preferable, I think, to use let instead of where, right? Because let is
So where after ES6, right? So you should not use this. That's let and const is preferred option.
okay.
Okay, so actually it has another drawback also when we go with callback functions, right? So we have a drawback there as well. Uh, so you can refer one link.
Yeah.
Mm, JavaScript. So I will give you this one after this.
Okay.
So I mean that's very popular problem.
Mm.
Everyone knows. Okay, so here, uh, so I'll comment this unwanted code, uh, and also this one.
Okay.
So here I'm going to call add a comma. I need to give some value 1 comma 3. Okay. So now you can guess what will be the output. The output will be 4, right?
Yeah.
So once again, okay. So I'm opening the terminal.
Mm.
So once you install Node, right? So you'll have okay. So you should be able to access this node, and then if you run version, so this one should give you the version. So for our project, okay,
Okay, I think, yeah.
okay. So I mean, so in our project, so we are preferring Node 16 plus.
Mm.
So the latest version is 16.4, I think now. So by the time you when you install, so the version may be different, but it should be 16 plus.
Okay.
Okay. And here, okay, how do we run this program? So we give node and then the file name. So here the file name is demo index.js.
Okay. Mm.
Okay, now we see 4. Okay, my intention is to add two numbers, but what happens when I send different value other than numbers? So for example, hello,
Mm.
hello world. Okay. Okay, you see both the strings are concatenated because you can concatenate two strings with the plus operator. So this is also valid, but my intention is just to add two numbers. Okay, now let's see what happens when I give you this boolean values.
Okay.
So true and then false. You see one. Okay, so based on different data types, you can expect different outputs, but your intention of this function is to add two numbers,
Mm.
not string. Okay, fine. If you give string, you get the output, but my intention is not to add two strings. And you give boolean values, it accepted. There was no any errors. And what happens if I don't send any inputs? Still, it is fine. It did not complain because that's a valid. So
Mm.
here, if I just give one number, what happens? See, everything is fine here. Okay, there is no rule in JavaScript.
Mm.
You don't have any way to define both the arguments should be mandatory. There is no way you can define this. So that's why here we come up with the TypeScript.
Mm.
So what is TypeScript? Let's see this function. So here I am telling A should be of type string and B should be of type string. Oh, sorry, my intention is to give numbers. In other languages you use int, but in JavaScript you use number. Sorry, TypeScript. Okay, and my extension should be TS.
Instead of there, it should be.
Yes. Okay, now you see this is completely valid, and here if you see, okay, so it's still checking for updates. So once this is done, so you'll see compilation errors. in line 21, 23, and 24.
Okay.
Okay, so this way you can actually reduce your problems. Now if you, let's say if you want to accept both numbers and strings, okay, it's simple here. You just have to give number or string.
And what is the shortcut you're using to edit at both these places?
You can just use alt, put your
Also,
cursor and another cursor.
oh, alt and then you can like I said, look at the same time. Is that
Yes, yes,
okay?
yes. Okay, so but here if you see, once if I accept number or string, you get compilation error here, because there is a possibility that the developers can call this function with number and as well as string. For example, let's say here something like this: add hello, and second argument is 3. Okay, so if you are passing like this, it, I mean, you don't know, right, how to add this one. First you need, so b is of type number and a is of type string. First you need to convert this b no, from number to string. Okay,
Okay.
so now you see it did not complain, so it complains only for boolean and as well as for undefined numbers. Okay, so let's see about some basics on TypeScript. So I'll clear all. So first, let's see how to define variables. Okay, so let more see TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. Even if you give a plain JavaScript, right? So for example, let a equal to 5, let b equal to 6. So whatever you saw right earlier, the JavaScript functions, that is completely fine with TypeScript. So you can use the JavaScript code as it is in TypeScript. It will not complain. But since I have some strict regulations here, so it's complaining because A, if you see the type of A, it can be anything. So here it says any, so it can be anything. So in my rules, if it is any, it will complain here. But default rules will not complain. You can use any JavaScript code as it is in TypeScript. Okay, so let's say uh, so here if you see the type of A, it says number, and type of B, it is number. So let's say string. So now if you see the type of variable B, it is string. It is automatically uh, taken the type from the value. Okay, but let's say if I don't specify any value here, and here if I am just giving you this type, let's use boolean. So now if you see the type of C, it is any, because when I declared this variable, there was no type mentioned here. Okay, so how do we specify type here? So it's putting it's by giving a semicolon and then the type name. So boolean. Now if you see the type of C, it's boolean. But if I give any other types, it will complain. So for example, let's so this is an object in JavaScript. So when I give object, it is complaining because um, so this value is not assignable to type boolean. Okay, and again if you see the const keyword, it is same. So here let's say um, pi 3.14, and now let's try to change the value, something like 3.41. It will complain because it cannot be assigned to a constant. Once the constant is declared, you cannot again reassign. Okay, and then let's see on functions. So so if you want to give types to the argument, you just have to give colon and then the type. Okay,
Okay.
and then string. If you see the return type of this add function, it is again string. Okay, because it is automatically picking up. So when you add two strings, it will result in string. But if let's say if I just give a dot length, now if you see the return type, it is number. It is
Okay.
all. So TypeScript has the feature to automatically infer your return types and as well as the variable types. So, but if you want to put some mandatory thing, so you just have to tell like this. So return type of this one is string. Now, if you see, so you are forcing the return type of this method to be string, but you are returning a number. Okay, so this is complaining. Now, if you see, it doesn't have any problem. Okay,
Yes.
another benefit of this one is when you use IDE like Visual Studio Code or any other IDE, so it will also give you the suggestions based on the types. So, for example, let's say now the type of base string. Uh, okay, let me put here. Uh, so if you see, we have replace all, match, and also concat, substring. So all these methods are only for type strings. Okay, but if it is number, you will not get those suggestions. Instead, you will get different suggestions here. So these suggestions are purely for numbers. So you get this one. You got this one, right?
Yeah. So defining types will help us in developing. Yeah. What? Okay.
Yes.
So, one doubt here, unrelated. Now, A and B you have already defined. Let A, let B. So it's again like similar to Java, right? We have local and we have global variables. Now,
Yes.
parametric variables. So whatever we are using A, it's going to be the ones which are defining the parameter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the scope of this variable is till this function, but you can use this one also. Okay. So for example, this one.
Okay.
So now here, value of A will be 5, value of B will be string type. Here itself we can see the type of B is string and type of A is number.
So can I access? I have already defined the parameter. Can I access the global variable with the same name? Is that possible? Like this we do now.
Sorry, once again.
Like imagine we have already defined the parameter A or B
Hmm.
in the method itself, function
Okay.
itself. So now whatever A I am using, that is going to be the local parameter
Yes,
variable.
local variable. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
And
again, let's say I don't know if I can use something like this. I think it should be possible. Okay, it's not possible.
mm,
Okay, but for example, if I can put functions, nested functions also in JavaScript. So for example, let's say function, uh, something like length, get length. So length, so string. Okay, now if I call this one console.log
mm,
get length of b.
okay.
Okay, now if I call this function get length of b, the value of a here will be the value of b.
Okay. Yeah, correct.
Got
Because
it?
that is printed. Even though if
Yes.
you're B, Joel is going to print so Joel is going to print the A only, the one which is local.
Yes. See, always when I use a variable inside the parameters variables are always declared newly in spite of the existing variables. It is declared newly.
Okay. So here when you're doing get length of B, it is actual length of B only.
Yes,
Then B only. So if B is
because I am
5.
passing B. Okay, if I pass something like Mr. A, so the value of A will be Mr. A, not this one.
Okay. My doubt
But
is,
if I don't declare this one, uh, if I don't declare this one, then value of A will be coming from this add function.
okay.
You're about to ask something.
Yeah, my doubt is like, is there a way we can use the global variable? Like in Java, we can use this dot something, no, to access global variable. Is there an option? Is there?
So here, yeah, it's not possible because the value of the variable it's already overwritten. Okay, so you don't have access to this variable.
Okay, got it.
Okay, okay, fine. So okay, so this one is about types for variables, functions, return types, and let and const keyword. Okay, another one is so for example, uh, let's say mm, let's say you want custom type.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is uh, concat or print. You can also create custom types. So here you just have to put a type and then give some name. For example, string or number. So here you can just combine these two types. Okay, string or number, and then if you just give so let's say type of this variable is um, so let's say a and then string or number.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, and then I will call print hello and then print 7. But if I give very boolean values, it will complain.
Okay.
Okay, because true is not either string or no either or number. Okay,
Okay.
so this is one type. And for example, if you want to accept, so in JavaScript you have undefined unnull. Okay, so you can also use that. So for example, let uh, null label string. So this is of type string or undefined. So here the value can be either string or undefined.
Undefined means null, not defined, not assigned.
Uh, no, this is So this is similar to null, okay, but we have a little bit difference between undefined and null. Okay, but I cannot assign any other types. So for example, if I assign null here, it is not accepted. Okay, and if you want to again accept null, so you can just provide here. You got it?
Okay, okay, got it.
Okay, so just I want to highlight here. Uh, so so let's see how to run this program first of all. Okay, we saw for JavaScript, but we did not see for TypeScript. Okay, so TypeScript, uh, see, there is no way to run TypeScript directly. Okay, TypeScript. What is the purpose of TypeScript? We just want some types in along with the along with this JavaScript. Okay, but there is no engine that understands TypeScript. Okay, so for example, a browser understands only JavaScript. It doesn't know TypeScript. But if you're writing TypeScript code, uh, you need some way to convert this program to JavaScript. Okay, and luckily this TypeScript itself, they are giving a pre-compiler. Okay, so for example, uh, TSC. So TSD is the library, TypeScript library, and if I just give the file name demo, sorry. So when I call this one, this simply converts this index.ts to index.js file.
Okay.
And what happens when I convert this to JavaScript? All these types will go. So for example, I have types here. So this colon boolean will go, colon string will go, colon string, again this one will go. This 18 line number 18 will not be there. And here a colon string or number will not be there. Oh, this is taking time.
NPS is a when we install NPX also something. When we install Node,
When you install Node, NPX will be available for you. So there, if you have installing types TSC on the global level, you don't have to give a NPX itself. You can directly give TSC demo index.ts, but TSC is not installed on the global level for me. Okay, now when I compile here, actually it compiles two errors for me because
I
overlaid signatures.
this is an existing method. I thought
The implementation signature is declared. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm missing multiple libraries, and one of the libraries is giving me the global function here, but print is not the you know uh, predefined library. One of my libraries installed in my application
okay.
has this function on the global level. I think that's the problem. Uh, so I can just simply rename. Um, so parent value. See, there is another way. Okay. Every time I don't have to compile this one. I will just give -w. It will keep on watching my changes. So once any change is done, automatically it generates the JavaScript file.
Okay.
Okay. Watch in compilation mode. I will put both the file aside. Now if you see, line number 1 and 2 is same, but line number 4, if you see C colon boolean is not present on the right side on the JavaScript file. And also if you see the function add, you don't have any types, all the types are removed. Okay, and print value, this string or number is not present, and also this on line number 29 string or undefined or null is not present, all the types are removed. Okay, so I mentioned like earlier, so we are using ES 6 plus. Okay, now we have ES 2020. But if you see some of the browsers, they just started having ES6 library.
Okay.
Even there are some browsers like in the Internet Explorer itself. If you are giving let or const keyword, it will not try to understand this one. Okay, but here if you see, all let and const are replaced with where. Okay, because that's my instruction here. So the generated JavaScript file should be compatible with ES 5 version.
Okay.
Okay, so but I can also give ES 6 or any other version. So if I am giving ES 6 version, then uh, sorry, then this let and const keyword will not replace.
Where have you defined that? Like,
So all the instructions are all TypeScript instructions are available in tsconfig.json.
okay.
So this file can be auto-generated. You just have to give a tsc space in it or hyphen in it. This file will be auto-generated with default options.
Okay.
Okay, so here next point is, so also in TypeScript we have okay, first of all we'll see the class. So class, and then let's say person. So and then let me put some variables id or of type number. Okay, so okay, so and then see there are two different access modifiers for class in JavaScript. So one is sorry, not two, it's three. One is private, and the other one is protected, and another one is public. Okay, so I think I don't have to go with the difference between public, private, and protected. It's similar to Java only. And here if I just tell this one as string, and if you don't specify public, the default modifier will be public only.
Okay.
Okay, so let me put a constructor here. So again, this is another difference. So in Java, you will have something like this. Person will have, but here you just have to give a constructor and then the arguments. So ID should be of type number, and the name should be of type string.
Okay. So this is also having this keyword, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, what we are doing, we are accessing the global variable.
Yes, here we are accessing global variable, but here we don't have any class concepts.
Okay.
But this is available in the inside the functions also, but it will behave some similar. I mean, some different. There are some difference there. It's not like in other languages. In other languages, you cannot use this keyword outside the class itself. Uh, okay, so here, yeah, fine. Let's see what happens when I save this file. this JavaScript code is trying to. Now if you see from line number 19 to 25, there is no class itself. See, this is a commented code. This is just for our reference, but if you see here, it's completely function. Class is a function in JavaScript. Okay, we don't have any class keyword in ES5 version itself. So the class, I think it came in ES6 only. ES6 or ES7 only they included this class in JavaScript. Okay, but if I am going with latest version of JavaScript, on the right hand side you will see the same code I mean generated on the JavaScript file as well. Okay, so this is one thing. Okay, and there is one more shortcut. So instead of putting all this constructor here, you can use something like this. So private id number and then public.
Okay.
Okay, so this code is similar to the above 5 lines.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't have to get this in the argument and then call this dot id and then assign. Okay, so this is one thing, and I will give you another example also for functions. So function, let's say function, see there are multiple ways to define a function. So this is anonymous function. I am assigning it to one variable. Okay, my favorite color, or let's say get color. So here I'm going to get id. Okay, id, let's say int, sorry, number, and I have one switch statement, so which accepts id, and then so return and red.
Okay.
So case 2 return blue. Okay, so default should throw an error.
Okay, we also have errors. Okay.
Yes, invalid value for id.
This will kind of break, right? Or it will show an alert. This will
Yes.
break.
Yes, if I give some different value other than 1 or 2, it should throw an error. So get color. So get color. Now let's say I pass 1. Color of 2. So if I call this one will print value as blue.
Okay.
Okay, but if I call with some invalid values, this is going to throw exception. Okay, at runtime. Okay, but on a so here in TypeScript, when you are expecting value of id to be 1 or 2, you can directly mention here 1 or 2. You don't, if you give number, it will take all possible numbers, but if you are specifying some value, you see here itself in the type it says that it should be 1 or 2. Okay, and here you see the compilation error. When I pass 3, it is not assembled to type 1 or 2. You got it. Okay, so here actually we are converting runtime error to compile time error, which is good. And also, if you see the return type of this color, it is automatically taking red or blue. Okay, it's not string.
Okay.
It is not string. Okay, and fine. So now this piece of code is not necessary because in compile time error we are dealing this. Okay, but if you want to provide some default value, for example, okay, let's say I'll put this code default invalid value for ID. Okay, now it only accepts 1 or 2. Now if I just want to give one optional argument, console.log get color. If I don't pass argument, it complains me here, but I don't want to do this. ID should be optional. I want to make this optional. So the when I use question mark after ID, so this variable is uh, I mean it is say the if you see the type here itself, you see a 1, 2 or undefined. It is a shorthand.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now, if I don't pass any value, it is undefined. Okay, by default. Uh, okay. Now, when I run this code, it will throw me a runtime error.
Yeah, because we are throwing exception error.
Yeah, because it will go to default and then it will throw exception. Okay. So, yeah. So another way to handle this one is I don't want to give optional, but instead I want to give some default value. If the user did not pass any value, the default value should be 1. Now it will not throw any error. Instead, it will give red. So this piece of code is not needed. You got it, right?
Yeah, got it. So equal to is like default.
Default value. Yes. And so when you have multiple arguments, for example, let's say I'll give one more variable, one more function. So function print to. So here, so I give ID string name string active boolean, and then here I will give age. So when I have multiple arguments, it's better to put in individual lines.
Okay, this is common practice.
Yes.
So
So actually, you don't have to do all these things. So I have when you use our code, right? So you expand this npm scripts, and there is an option called format-w. Okay, if you just run this one, it will automatically take care for you. So for example, here, uh, so the best way to practice this one is to bring this active to the new line. Okay, but if I just save this one, it will automatically do it for me. What happened? Okay. Okay. So here it is completely in a single line because there is a I have some limitations. So if this line extends 80 characters, then it will come to new line. Okay. So for that I will add one more, or I will give some big function name. Print basic information. Now I think it will come. Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
So you don't have to do anything. One just try to run this task, and then it will automatically format for you.
So why you have written that manual or it's in available
Which one?
format?
No, I have the rules defined there.
Okay.
Okay. Even I don't encourage putting semicolons here. Okay. So if I put semicolons, so it will be automatically removed from your code. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And here also, if you see, uh, so I always prefer to put comma even if it is a lost argument. Okay, because it is completely valid in JavaScript. Even if I remove this one, I did not add this one. If I remove this one, it will automatically add. Okay.
Okay.
So the benefit of this one is if you add one more argument in future, and if you are seeing the difference will be shown for this line 62 only, not on 61. If you don't put this comma, and then in future if you are going to add one more new variable, it will be like you are putting comma and then you put one more variable here. Okay. So now if you see the difference will be on line 61 and 62.
Okay.
Okay, so it will give me clear idea on what changed. So you just have to run the script, it will automatically take care all these things. And then even in JavaScript you can use a single quotes or double quotes for string. If you just put double quotes, it will automatically, you know, change to single quotes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so here, okay, fine. So coming here, what I was about to tell here is, okay, so we saw default arguments, right? So if I want to make default for name, I cannot make here. Okay, can you guess?
Oh, you cannot make it. Okay.
So for example, okay, I want to make this one. Uh, he did not complain, but this is not valid code.
Okay.
Okay, and here if you see, if I want to make ID as option, okay, the reason it did not complain is name is always mandatory here.
Mm.
Okay, I did not make. Okay, forget about that. Okay, so if I make this ID as optional, you will
Mm.
see age and active everything is or let's say I want to make age as optional. It is complaining because you cannot give something like this. For example, print basic information, IDs of type string, and then name. So name I'm giving. I said age is optional, okay, but if I give third argument, it goes to age only,
Oh, okay. Got it.
okay, and you are telling active as required. So it cannot happen, right? So third argument cannot be optional and fourth argument cannot be required. So all optional arguments should go at the end.
Okay. Mm.
So if I make this active as optional, then it is completely valid. Okay.
Mm.
And also the default arguments, if you see, it should come after mandatory arguments.
Okay.
Okay, and after this only you should have all your optional arguments.
Mm. And because it is types are different, it's okay. Otherwise, again, it's going to be a problem. If you have a lot of optional
Yes,
attributes,
yes.
same types, yeah. These are it.
So for example, let's say if I'm making this one as false, it complains because it is declared okay parameter cannot have question mark and initial. Okay, it's I think this is different error. So this error states that so you cannot have optional and as well as a default value. It can be either optional or you can give a default value, but you cannot have both. But this is also not an valid one. I think the TypeScript documentation has some explanation. Okay, this is the valid one.
Okay.
Okay, and also coming to the interface. Okay, so here I can also have interface. So interface is not available in it's not available in JavaScript, but
Mm.
TypeScript has interface. So for example here, uh, let's say person or human. I'm telling human should have two properties. Okay, ID. ID should be of type number, and then name should have string.
Mm.
Also, I can have something uh, get active. Get active is the function. Get active is the function which returns a boolean. So I have three members in the interface. One is ID, name, and then third one is function, which is get active. Okay. Now, if you see the generated type, there is no human keyword present.
Mm.
Okay, there is no match because interface are removed in JavaScript don't understand interfaces. Okay, so but it gives you advantage to put to define on classes. So
Mm.
for example here if I just implement this implements human, now you have one combination error because it says get active is missing in type person.
Mm. Mm.
Okay,
Okay.
but if I make this optional,
Then it's going to be
uh, okay, so here the person incorrectly implements interface because id is private in person but in type not in type. See, id is public here, it is
yeah.
not private, and here it is private. So if I make this one public, now it completely valid, but if I remove optional, you have to mandatory implement this get active function here.
Mm.
We can use auto completion also, it will automatically implement for you. So
Mm.
I will return, if I return string, again it will complain because get active should return boolean. So true. You got this?
Yeah.
And another, see, there is one more thing of, let's say I will remove this implements. Let's forget about class.
Mm.
Uh, okay, so I can use this interface on objects also. So for example, let's say I want constant human. So I'm telling this type should be human.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and here if you see, so this one is missing ID, name, and get active. If I define here, it
Mm.
is it will not so ID is number and then name, and then I need to give a get active function.
Mm.
Okay, So this one is also valid. So you can define on interface also. But another way to define this same structure is to put it on type. So human one, so I can directly have this ID, ID number, name, string.
Get that.
Okay. So here, if I give human one, what happened?
Active you have written
Oh,
in that.
sorry. This one. This one is how do I give this? So get active function should return. Sorry, should return. Okay, I think this is a mistake. So I'm using human. It should be boolean.
Hmm. So it's kind of like your type is implementing, they have to write that.
Which one?
Type is
Human, huh?
again get.
No, I did
Yeah.
not understand.
So like if you are whichever object will be of this type that will have this get active method implemented. Right? That object.
Yes. So if I don't give this one, it will complain in run. I mean, compile time itself, it will complain.
Okay.
So I can always have extra properties. For example, let's say extra property true.
Boolean, no? Okay.
Okay, did not complain. Um, in some cases, you can have extra properties also. But even if you have extra properties, it will when you use this auto completion, right? You will not get this extra property. You will get only whatever is there in on type.
Okay.
Okay. See, in some cases, this is completely allowed.
Hmm. But here it's not allowed in.
Yeah, it's not allowed in directly on object. So for example, let's say something like this. So human dot uh, dot extra. I think it will complain here also. Yeah, it's complaining. So yeah, we have tuples as well. I will go quickly. We don't have time. So for example, you want to have something like this. Uh, const, let's say tuple. Okay, and type of tuple should, okay, let's say I will directly assign values. Let's see what happens. So if you see the type of tuple or the string or okay, so here if you see the elements of array can be of type string or number, okay, which is valid. But sometimes I want uh, I know always it contains two elements. The first element is string number and second one is string. So in that case you can define the type. So this one is number and then this one is string. Now if you see the type of this one, the first one, it contains two things. One is number and then the second one is string. Now here if you try to access this of 0 dot, if you see the suggestions, it is for type only, but you can, if you are using substring, it will complain. Okay, but if you are using the first element, so the second element, it will not complain because it knows the second element is string.
Yeah, and two is not there. So it's only having two array, two size two. That also be defined.
Okay, okay, you can have multiple things also. For example, so I put one more number. Okay, not here. Uh, so if I say tuple dot push, so pushes. So let's say true. So this one will go to the third element.
Okay.
Okay, it's not assignable to parameter of type string. Okay, so if you see the older version of TypeScript, right? So this push is completely valid. If you are calling push, it will not try to understand, even though you have only two elements. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, okay, or else what I will do is okay,
Right.
fine. It will not understand, but when you call off two, it doesn't know the type of that, so it will tell undefined, but there is a value on the runtime.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one thing, and you can also, if you want to cast something, right, you can also like use something like this. Now if you see the type of tuple is different. Okay, but if you want to use typecast, you can use something like this. Now if you see the type, this is something like,
But this is
okay,
just colon and defining, right? Both
what,
the things. We are doing add and number and string, right? That is
yes.
also defining colon and everything.
No, no. So this is the value. Directly have the value.
Hmm.
If you have the value, then you can put as. But if you are using function, then
Okay.
you have to give this arrow symbol, and then you have to define the type.
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
Okay. It also accepts destructuring also. So for example, let's say you want to put this one id tuple of 0. शायद तुमना टाइम होता तो बोलो कितना कितना होते हैं म्हणजे टाइम अभी.
नहीं था एक तो मैं देखो कितना कंटिन्यू करती हूँ.
नहीं मैं सुबह तक को तो भी बैठ जाऊंगा. अच्छा.
देखो if we can finish, fine otherwise.
अच्छा ठीक है, एक फ्यू कॉन्सेप्ट हम देखो खत्म कर लेंगे, एक हाफ एन आवर या 45 मिनट्स हो गए कि.
Yeah, okay, try करेंगे. Yeah.
अच्छा. uh, okay, so I mean usually in other languages we use like this, right? To take the first element and the second element of this array. So we use it like this, but it's not. But in JavaScript, you have one more option to do this one. So one is this way, and the other one is something like this. So ID comma name equal to tuple. You got it?
Or like, okay, that
So
means
tuple is the array, and if you see on the left hand side, so the first element should be assigned to ID, the second element should be assigned to variable name, and both these variables are assigned to constant. So that means I cannot have a reinitial. I mean I cannot reinitialize this variable name.
okay, okay, okay,
But if you are using let, it's completely fine.
okay,
Okay, this is one way, and I mean it is possible for objects also. So let's say person object. So let's say id id1 name here. Okay, see I'm not using any type, it is automatically taken here. Okay, and Okay, so here instead of ID and name, I will tell different properties. Let's say uh,
Those are case sensitive, right?
yeah, case sensitive. But no one prefers to put a name and then another name with n uppercase. Okay, let's say part and sorry. Uh, okay, part object. I think I'm coming to PLM world. I don't know, like something they call ALM. What AML? I'm just giving some random property names, and then क्या था, एक फील्ड बोलो ना.
नंबर NUMBR this time नहीं
क्या बोले?
NUMBR is like
Yeah,
reserved.
yeah. I mean, you can use that. Yes, correct.
It's a reserved word, right?
It's a reserved word in TypeScript. But JavaScript, it's completely fine, right?
Okay.
And this is not the place to define type also. Okay, so it's completely understood here.
Okay. Sorry.
So here, now if you see this part object, and then sorry, this, so this one should be of something like this. So what happens here is, so I created one new variable which is number. So it's something like this, similar to like this, constant number
Equal to part object of.
part object dot number.
Hmm.
Okay, so this line is similar to this one, and also if I can have multiple I can I mean extract multiple properties, AML number and AML I'm extracting from this one. Okay, now the reason, I mean, earlier I struggled, right? So earlier I had ID and then I had name.
Hmm.
The reason I changed here is ID and name, it's already available. So if I use ID and name here, it's it's not valid because I already have this one. If I comment this is completely valid.
Okay.
You got it, right? So that's the reason I changed the name. But let's say you want to use ID and name here,
Hmm.
but you want to extract this on this variable number. Okay, so the reason, I mean, you can do with as name. Okay, no, it's not as, it should be semicolon. And for AML, you can give some alias name. Okay, I think it's as. Oh, sorry. Uh, so it should come here. Alias name should come afterward. So let's say, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking the name property from the spot object and then assigning it to number variable.
Okay. Okay. Lot of flexibility here, I think. TypeScript.
Yes. So here number, I can print number
Hmm.
and then what is this AML? Okay,
Okay.
and it's possible here also. So if I want to give a name as person name, something like this I can do. Okay. Sorry, you cannot do here because it's directly taken. But what you can do here is, so for example, you're interested only on the second property, not the first one.
Hmm.
So you can put, you can give empty one. You don't have to give any variable name. Okay, but if you're interested on a third one, first two you can give empty and third one you can use. The reason it is showing error is you don't have any third variable, third element on this tuple. Okay, so I think these are all the basics, and okay, this is fine, right, for you?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Next one, I will go with the JavaScript operators. So function, let's say add.
Samir, one more thing, like, is it like tomorrow morning? Do you have time? Like, can we continue tomorrow?
Okay, Said. Inshallah.
नहीं कर लेगा लेकिन अब जरा ज़्यादा ही टाइम में जरा फोकस करना
Lot of concepts के.
ये कॉन्सेप्ट ये समझ में आ रहा है ये यहाँ तक ही मुझे जरा नवा है ये कांस्टेंट में नंबर डिफाइन करते हैं नहीं
हाँ.
और
ये की.
set and array also
यस. नहीं तो खाली अब एक दो कॉन्सेप्ट देख लेंगे. ये
अच्छा
जावास्क्रिप्ट क्लोज कर लिया हमें.
ओके
ओके सो नहीं, ये तो 12:30 कंप्लीट कर डालेंगे सर. क्या बोलते हैं?
अच्छा है तो नहीं अब फ्लो में ही तो कर डालेंगे छोड़ो क्या
तो क्या भी था कि नहीं, हम ये कंप्लीट कर डाल, ये ऑपरेटर्स 2-3 ऑपरेटर्स कवर करता हूँ. उसके बाद इंपोर्ट और एक्सपोर्ट आपको देख लो को खत्म कर लेंगे.
ओके
ओके. गेट लेट्स फर्स्ट skip first 3 characters. ओके. तो मैं इसमें क्या करता हूँ, रिटर्न yes डॉट सब स्ट्रिंग. ओके, इसमें आपको 3. तो इसमें क्या करता हूँ तो what I'm doing here is I will just try to print this. So this is going to print me yellow.
Okay.
But see, in normal programming, right, like Java, so what you will do is first you will try to check if yes is defined, yes is not null, something you will do, right?
Not null and greater than 3.
If yes is double equal to or define undefined or null. Yes, double equal to null. Something you will do like this, right? In other languages. So return empty string. Okay. So here it is not needed because there is no way you can pass undefined or null here. So let's say I will just copy this. If I don't pass anything, it's that means the first argument is undefined. So here it is compilation error. Even if I explicitly mention it is compilation error, and even if I pass null, it is compilation error, because uh, my first argument is always expecting string, not null or not undefined. Okay, in some cases you want to give optional argument, so that means undefined is accepted here. Okay, so in that case this block is completely fine. But in JavaScript we have okay, let's see the type of yes. It is string and then undefined or undefined, right? So after checking the type here, whether it is undefined, if it is undefined, okay, let's say Yes. Now if you see the type of yes, it is undefined. Okay, here if you see the type of yes, it is string.
Okay. Okay.
You understood?
Okay.
So TypeScript is smart. Even it works in switch case also. It completely understood. But the point I was about to tell here is you don't have to put all this code. So JavaScript has one operator.
Mm.
So if you use question mark, so before calling the substring, so this is the operator question mark dot. Okay, when you call this operator before calling this function, it will check whether yes is defined. Only
Okay.
if it is defined, it will call substring. If it is not defined, then it will directly give undefined on the for this entire expression.
Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
okay.
Okay. So this dot, I mean question mark dot, it came in ES7, I think ES7 or ES6, but right side we have ES5 code, right? So
Mm.
let's see what happens in the generated code.
So this question mark dot is TypeScript, right? Java.
No,
TypeScript.
JavaScript they have an ES6 only,
Okay.
but in TypeScript, right? So I can use any latest code. I have the rules defined there, so I can use any latest JavaScript code or any TypeScript code. It will accept all these things.
Okay.
So on the right hand side, if you see, when I go with ES5 code, it's checking whether it is null, whether it is void, all those things it is checking, and then only it is calling my function. Okay,
Okay.
but if I go with ES6, this complete function will be on the right hand side because this is a valid JavaScript code.
Okay. Okay. In
Okay.
TypeScript, something similar, no question mark.
Hmm?
Kindly as well as question mark there only. So,
Yes, yes. Okay, and also here if you see this one, so we use this type of expression, right? Name and ID. But if you see in this also, this came at ES8, I think. So here if you see on the right hand side ES5 version, so this is completely different code.
okay.
Okay,
Mm.
so we get a lot of benefits from the TypeScript. Okay, this one, I usually this can, I mean if you go with the older version code, right? So this this is how the JavaScript developers write. So if yes is not defined, then only this function will get called. If I save this one, you see on the right hand side. So this is a traditional type of code JavaScript developers they prefer, but we have advanced operators now.
Okay. 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 So,
Okay,
yeah. Okay.
yeah, for defining
Mm.
um this default value, they will use something like this. Don't know the spelling. Okay. So now if you see the, I don't need this one because here it checks if it is yes is undefined, then the default value is assigned to yes, and here it is completely string.
So, like if I just put if and if I put that object, if it is that itself will act as a true or false. If it's not like that, just
Yes,
means
yes.
okay. Okay.
So we have a lot of different ways of writing code in JavaScript. Uh, okay. So yeah, I think this should be fine. And the next one I want to tell is, so let's say I will create one person
Okay.
.ts file,
Mm.
and or I will say utilities. Okay. So I write some utilities here. So for example, okay, I will take this function, and then index.ts, I will clear everything.
Mm.
Okay, now I have one function here. I want to use it in another file.
Correct.
Okay,
Mm.
so if I call this function, this will not understand here. Hello. So there is no way. I mean, it should come. It should throw error here.
You are not able to use the color.
I don't know. It's completely hang.
Mm. And how is right? Remote machine. 8 GB, right?
No, no.
No?
This is my machine. No,
So,
remote machine also has 4 GB only.
okay.
Okay. So actually, this one should complain here.
Mm.
I think okay. I think it's because of this file. No. Okay. So this one actually should will complain in our code, but I don't know. Like somehow it's picking up here. In our code it should complain this one, so there is no function defined for this, so it will
Mm.
complain. Okay, so there is I mean, okay, I think let me try to change the name. Okay, you got it right. Skip first
Yes,
3
got it.
chars one. It's complaining.
So you have to import it, right?
Okay, I think some problem. Yeah, so the I mean the correct way is to define like this. We have to export this
Mm.
function, and then we have to import here.
Okay, I was
Oh, okay, 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 I got it. So earlier we did not get error because I have instructions that it should take all the code in one file. So if all the code comes in one file, this function will be at the top and then this line will be at the bottom. So that was a valid code. So here, either you can use auto completion,
mm.
okay, but this is the statement. So you write I mean dot for our custom for our custom modules, dot you will put and then utils and then you will call this one. Okay, but for example, if you want to use some predefined libraries, right?
Mm.
So import and then okay, for example, you want to read file. Okay, so so read file is available only for Node.js.
Mm.
Okay, so read file. I'll I will use this sync.
Okay, that's library. The phrase is the library.
Okay, so
Mm.
fs is the library and then
Mm.
this one is the function that I want to import. So here if you see in other languages,
Mm.
so when you import the entire file will be imported, but here it's not like that. So whatever function you define here, only those things are imported. If you want to import everything, you have to use star.
Okay, so star means everything I'll get, and then I can directly use that method name.
Okay, so star I have to put some
Okay,
alias name. So for example, let me put ut and then here I have to
okay,
put ut dot.
okay, okay, excellent. Okay,
Okay, so I have one more import which is a default import. So default function uh, get random number. So mat dot random. So when I export as default, if I don't put anything right here, so for example, uh, I can use any name here. I'll comment this. I can use any name. So whatever the default export is there, that will be assigned to this one. So
What is
let's
that?
confirm.
Okay, okay.
So random, is dfasd. Okay, this is a function, so I have to call this. Now if you see, the type of random number is number.
Okay.
Okay, you can use any name actually here. Now I want both this default export member and then the exported member here. So I can include this one.
Okay, okay.
Okay, you got it. So that guy, right, in YouTube, he was telling about require and export. So this is what it is. So this is the advanced syntax. So we have multiple types. At least I know 3 types. I think there are many, I believe. So one is require, and the other one is import, something like this. So if you see here, uh, so this is the exports he was mentioning there. Okay, so we actually, it's like he put something exports and
Model.
then equal to something like this they will put. So one is the skip first thing. You can forget about all the things above. So it will be something like this. So some string or some function. Okay, some function, and then a random number. So if I put like this, and then I can import here. Okay, so the same thing they are doing it with the help of this one. So default, and the other one, other export is this one. So if I use something like this, so I'm building this exports to something like this.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay,
And
so
what if you have two default methods? That time what happens? This will fail, right?
no, you cannot have two defaults. So for example, on this JavaScript, right? If I have something like this, let's say one. So actually, you are overwriting this get random with one.
Okay, okay.
Okay, but on this syntax, right? If you write one more function, it will complain. So let's say get random one. So it will complain here. You cannot have two default exports.
Okay, got it.
Cannot redeclare exported variable default. In the
Okay.
syntax, it's fine.
General here, what like we treat as a service, now we get the object and then we call the method, you know. Like here we are calling the specific method is how we do, but sometimes we might not be we will just get off.
Yes, I mean, see here. Here you are actually exporting the function. You are not invoking. Okay, so invoking happens here. Okay, it
Yeah, correct.
so random number is number. Actually, there is another way. You don't have to invoke. You are directly assigning function to another variable. Here if you see the type, it's function which returns number. So now if you want to return this, for example, actual number, or num equal to random number. So I'm invoking on line number 10. I'm not invoking on line number 8, or I'm not invoking on utils.ts. I'm invoking on line number 10.
Okay.
So that's the benefit of JavaScript. In JavaScript, you can assign functions to another variables. So that way you are aliasing the name of the function.
Correct. So,
So
yeah.
it's also similar here. So we are actually aliasing the default exported function here.
Okay.
Okay, and one. So I think it's already time. So we'll see the callback functions and promise tomorrow. But so
No.
before closing, I just want to add one point here. So So here, right, actually, so this is also completely valid. So first I use utils and then I use fs. Okay, but what is the recommendation? I mean, what is the recommended way for import? Like in Java, we have the recommendations for import, and similarly, we have recommendations in JavaScript as well. So the recommendations here is first we have to use, this node libraries, and then we have to use any third-party libraries
Mm.
in the import, and then we have to use our custom libraries.
Okay. Mm.
So this is the order of importing. Actually, it's you don't have to worry. So when you import something, right? There is in the Visual Studio Code you have organize imports option. So right click and then okay, it's not here. So actually, it's Alt Shift to O, the shortcut. You can search here. I think imports. Okay, organize imports, Alt Shift O. If you just use this one, it will automatically rearrange for you.
Okay.
Okay, so all our code will have will follow all the syntaxes, not only for import, even the coding styles, everything will follow the standard syntaxes. Okay, Jahit, we'll see tomorrow, inshallah. Do you have any questions now up to this?
Mm, no, I am, yeah, I understood that most of it.
Yeah,
So like,
I think it was very fast. It was not sequential also, but I think
mm,
you will come to know when you write the code.
today I completed the 5 plus 6 now. So I think few things are able to relate here. Able to understand. Okay.
Okay.
I will probably, yeah, just do some more practice as well. But yeah, it was helpful.
Hmm.
So, okay, I think it's only two topics. Yeah, if you want, we'll cover tomorrow only. Or okay, fine. Or you think like we should do it now only? Can you tell me?
No, it's completely going to be a new topic for you. It's I mean, whatever topics we cover up to this one, it is similar to other programmings. Okay,
Okay.
whatever callbacks, it should be similar to lambda expressions in Java.
Mm,
Actually, they copied from here only from JavaScript,
mm,
and the promise is something again the extension of callback. So in callbacks, we have a few drawbacks.
mm.
Actually, it's not a drawback. It's the your code becomes very complex. It's not readability when you have nested callbacks. So then the concept of promise it came. Actually, after this promise, also we have one more level advanced thing. So we'll be using that in Angular, not I mean in very few parts of Node code we'll use those concepts.
Okay.
Okay, so inshallah we'll connect tomorrow morning, maybe after breakfast. We'll connect.
Okay, fine. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Tomorrow Sunday I'm available. So you call.
Okay, fine.
I've recorded this.